Thank you so much for being on. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Kung Fu Bao.
Thank you, me.
How are you doing today?
Yeah, okay, I'm okay. And you? You are okay?
I'm doing good. It's you know I've been trying to get a Choy Lee Fut system into my interview because I interview other system, and one of the system also a little bit influenced me a little bit because I had like DVDs of Choy Lee Fut. But also, can you introduce to yourself to the audience, please?
I'm sorry, you must speak slowly
It's not-
because
Oh yeah,
my
yeah.
English is not so good. So I can write, but talking is not so easy.
That's no problem. Sorry about that.
No, no
Uh,
problem.
can you introduce to yourself who you are as a person to one?
Okay, well, I am a Choy Li Fut teacher. I'm doing this for a couple of years, so maybe 30 years. Um, and I have been doing this all my life, basically on the Chinese martial arts world. I have been since my 19 years. Uh, and what I do basically is that I have an academy in Lisbon where I teach Choy Li Fut, not only Choy Li Fut, but Sanda and Tai Chi Chuan too. So basically, in martial arts, this is my life.
Yes. Thank you. Can you tell? Can you go deeper a little bit? How did you fell in love with kung fu? Or yeah, can you go deep? How did you fall in love doing kung fu or Choy Li Fut or others?
Well, this was because of that time on 80s. There was a lot of kung fu movies, you know, all that uh, things going on at that time. And we were children, so we loved this romantic idea of kung fu. We found that the karate and the judo were very practical, but very um, I don't know, it's very simple, and we want a more complicated thing like kung fu. Kung fu is complicated. So we fall in love, myself and a group of friends, and we start learning Kung Fu in Spain because in Portugal there isn't at that time. So I start near because I lived near the border of Spain, so it was easy for me to dislocate to Spain and learning in Spain. So from there to France to Switzerland, I was starting learn Kung Fu in general. So not any particular style. But then later, I found Master Gaspar Garcia Lopez, who recently died. I don't know if you hear about that, but it was my first master. He's a Cuban who lives in Spain, and I started with him. So from there, I just finished to train the other systems and just keep going with Choy Li Fut only. So at my 22, I just start learning only Choy Li Fut, and that's what I am studying until now, and I keep learning.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. I study Hung Fut. The Choy Li Fut is also Southern style, right? System, right?
Yeah,
Um, but it's more like a really long range, right?
yeah. Well, the known part of Choy Li Fut, the public part of Choy Li Fut, is a long range system. Mm-hmm. Is a system with this quack cap, sal choice, long, very long range. And in particular, in my lineage, we learn how to go further, how to step bigger, punch bigger, etc. But later on, when you start to learn the advanced stuff on Choy Li Fut, you begin to learn the short fight. There is a short fight in Choy Li Fut, but at the advanced level. And when you study for several years this system, you could become proficient in long fight or short fight, or just a mix between all this and take the chance if you are fighting longer with your opponent or shorter. So there is any kind of fight in Choy Li Fut, but I know the public status of Choy Li Fut is a long fight system. But yes, it is, of course, in the first stage, but later on, no.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful. Can you? I want to. What is for the new beginners?
Yeah.
What is Choy Lee Fut, and can you give a little bit history of how Choy Lee Fut began?
Well, Choy Li Fut has a history as other normal style of kung fu. You know, this man who learned from Shaolin monk, learned from his uncle, and start training hard for a couple of years. And then he mixes his things he has learned and found a system. This is general story. Of course, it's very difficult to, in this interview, go deep on this story. But general, it was Chang Heung, the founder, who has learned from three masters: his uncle, another master who comes nearby, and then a monk who is looking for to finish his studies. So after a few times, he just mixed all up and founded the Choy Li Fut. And then this spread very quickly because those times were revolutionary times. So at that time, Choy Li Fut was used, especially in the Guangdong province, to fight the regime, to fight the foreigners, etc. So this becomes a very well-known system. Uh, then people at that time were persecuted by government. Um, these people just run away to uh, countries around China, and this start to spread the Choy Li Fut in several countries. But the main spread of Choy Li Fut was come on 80s or 90s with great masters like Master Dok Pai Wong, Master Chen Yongfa, etc. Europe, Master Gaspar Garcia Lopez, and today is a well-known system. Has Wing Chun, maybe not so famous as Wing Chun, but very well-known system as Wing Chun, Hung Gar, Tai Chi Chuan, etc. Basically, this is of course we doing going deeply is very complicated because not all agree with some history facts that happen. But this is the history.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I know this because I watch I do because I fall in love with this because I'm like I'm very curious about a lot of system about in kung fu because
Yeah.
uh, when I was a kid I always loved kung fu, right? It's my world, right? All I think about was kung fu. And as I go when I was like out of my boarding school days, I check out a lot of I look into a lot of system with Chowga, Choy Li Fut, Wing Chun. Was it of course because I take Hong Fut because they do have like a lot of similarity with the horse stance and the
Yeah, I think so.
um, yeah the cast stance. But there's a difference. I noticed there's a difference. Can you tell me about the wooden dummy of Choy Li Fut? Because it's very interesting. Because I saw there was a movie. I think you saw it or maybe you haven't. With Sammo Hung. Because Sammo Hung did have a Choy Li Fut movie in it. They have a weird, not weird wooden dummy, but it's very different from a Wing Chun wooden dummy. Can you tell about that?
Well, in fact, in Choy Li Fut we have 18 dummies. 18 dummies. Um, Part of them are simple, like this one you have saw on the movie, but most of them are complicated building to build. So they are very difficult to find out there. But this in particular you saw on this movie is the standard in Choy Li Fut. Is the first one to learn. Well, in fact, the first one to learn is a we call it a simple bag, just a bag, a straight bag, and there is a set for that bag, and you start to hitting the bag with a set, and then you decomposing small movements, and you train these movements on the set. So the second more or less the second dummy is the Chinjong, called this balanced dummy.
That's
Call it
with the one, the long one, right? With the hand, yeah.
Yes, this arm has a spring that you must move that arm and it goes back. You must be pay very special attention because if the spring is strong, if you not pay attention, this arm when goes up, it can hit you. This sometimes happens. I have a student who lost his teeth because of that. So you must be very careful about training this dummy, especially because of the arm. But a dummy like the Wing Chun. Wing Chun is small. This is bigger. Wing Chun has, I believe, only two arms. No, two arms at middle.
Yeah, three. The three one. So it's like double two arm and then middle, and then they have the leg.
The leg, yes. This has the spring dummy, the arm, the two, and the leg too. And we training the old techniques on the basic techniques on this dummy. But then you have more. You have another one very interesting called suicide zone. It's like something like breaking hand dummy. So you must be very careful when you hit this dummy because he has small
Spin.
yes,
Spin.
yes, up and on middle. And at some time you turn these wheels, you must hit on the pole or on lateral bags. So we must be very quickly, not be hit by the hélice. Yes,
Spinning.
yeah, spinning arms. It's very interesting, dummy. Curious, right now I'm doing a video about this dummy, and maybe in September or October I will put it on my channel, YouTube channel, or in my site with building right now. Then there is another interesting dummy. It was based on Choy Lee Fut on Wing Chun dummy. On Wing Chun dummy, has two arms up, one arm middle, two arms down, and each section moves independently. So if you do a movement on the upper section, it moves along in an angle. But if you push further, it brings the other down with him. If you move the middle section a little bit, it moves only move this section. But if you push down a little bit, it moves the below level. So there are three levels: two arms up, one arm, two arms down. So this is based, according to history, it is created by the second generation and is based on the Wing Chun dummy, and the techniques are short techniques. So we've talked a few moments ago about the Choy Li Fut being long or short. So this dummy introduced the student on short techniques of Choy Li Fut.
Okay.
Then there are dummies for the pole, for the broadsword, for the fan. Well, any kind of dummies. 18 in total.
Okay. Thank you. In the Choy Lee Fut system, they also have because I fall in love with the drunken boxing, or drunken kung fu with Jackie Chan, because the second movie of Jackie Chan. Do the Choy Lee Fut have the drunken kung fu?
Yes, has. We don't normally see in videos because people consider this advanced techniques, advanced set, and don't want to show this kind of techniques. I don't know why, but it's like that. But if you look on the YouTube, you can find special in some lines you can find online. Yes, we have, and they are very curious and a little bit different that we are normally usual to do on normal training day. If, for example, we do Qua Chen, Choi, South Choi, etc., this kind of standard techniques of Choy Li Fut, you won't see these techniques on the drunk, but you'll see that it's Choy Li Fut. So the accents and the movements are the same. So this is an advanced stage of Choy Li Fut. And among the advanced students, it's very popular, but it's difficult to training. It's a high level and demands very hard training from people. And sometimes when we achieve this level, we are on the 40s or 50s. So it's very hard to training this kind of techniques with 40 or 50 years. But it's the way it is. But it's very funny too and beautiful, of course.
Yes, of course. And also, all of course, all so, I don't know all not Wing Chun though. I think Hungar, Choy Lee Fut, and Hun Fut. They do also have the animal system, animal for like the
Yeah.
tiger,
Yes.
leopard. Can you explain how you guys in the form incorporate the leopard or the tiger? Can you explain that?
Okay. Choy Li Fut is animal style. I think Choy Li Fut has too many animals, too many else to master. So, in fact, they are the 5 basic animals, as you know, from Shaolin. And then there are 5 additional animals, so 10 in total, who can be different, a little bit different according to lineage. That depends. But in our lineage, we have the 5, they are most important. And on the beginner's form, we start to introduce the practice of the student on the animals. Maybe you can see a little bit of tiger here, a little bit of snake there. But then when you have master basis, you can begin to train the animal sets. Each animal has one set. The tiger, the snake, the dragon. So each one has one set. The 10 animals all has one set. But then we have 3 additional forms, at least on our lineage, that are the 5 animal set. This is basically the Shaolin traditional animals, as you know, in old styles. We have the 10 animal set, very long set. And we have the Pakwa animal set, very, very long set too. So they are quite demanding and quite long. So normally people train these sets by small sections, normally animal sections. And then when you are ready and prepared to do all the set, you can perform all. But it's very demanding from the heart point of view. So very, very demanding. But they are beautiful too. Of course, Kung Fu is beautiful, no?
Yes.
But they are beautiful and very good to perform and feels good. Above all, we feel good doing that.
Yes, thank you for that. That's it brings back my childhood days where all the love of kung fu. But also we as people we would say kung fu wrong, right? It's kung fu, right? Because as you say, people would say kung fu. Um, can you give the what is the principle of Choy Li Fut? What was it? The principle and philosophy of Choy Li Fut.
Well, you are talking fighting, or could you
And
be more specific?
the system, or fighting, or combined.
The system is a fighting system. Well, of course, today with these standards now that we have, like MMA, Thai boxing, Jiu-Jitsu, it's very difficult to understand that Choy Fat is a fighting style, and it is in reality it is a fighting style. Choy Fat is not only forms or dummies or there is really fighting techniques. So basically, what I found in Choy Fat is a fighting system. Of course, around the fighting system, there is cultural things, traditional things that we usually see in China, like qigong, like traditional medicine, like acupuncture, massage, etc. So, Choy Fat is not. We can approach for a point of view, fighting point of view, but in fact, if you study the system, it's more complete. So it's a way of life. So basically, as a system, Choy Fat could be a way of life, but you must dig and deep inside the Choy Fat. because it's too complex. But if you want to be a good fighter on Choy Li Fut, you must forget the other things that he has. If you want to be a good performance on sets, you must forget others. So you must choose on Choy Li Fut where you want to be proficient. Because being proficient in all areas of Choy Li Fut is very difficult. You must devote an whole life, and training hard a couple times of day, doing qigong, doing dummies, doing the arms and set weapon set, doing I don't know what. So in order to get proficient, you must choose. Particularly, I have chosen to fight. We have a good basis on fight. So this is my specialty. I like to fight, even if I have less than 50 years. I like to fight, and that's the way I choose Choy Li Fut. Of course, I can perform very well or up to the standards other areas, but especially I have developed this specialization in fight. So my trainings in my academy normally goes around fight. So when I see Choy Li Fut, I see as a fighting system. So my approach to Choy Li Fut is a fighting system.
Yes.
So I have chosen this approach. So of course, other people can see different, can approach different. Of course, it's so valid like my approach is, but my approach is that. So I see Choy Li Fut as a fighting system.
Yes. Thank you. I was thinking a lot. What was it? I can't remember. Oh yeah. Can you tell us what is exactly Sanda and what's the difference between Sanda and traditional Kung Fu or any fighting?
Okay, that's a good point because today Sanda is a ring sport like Muay Thai, like Thai boxing. There is a specific rules to play Sanda. There is a specific program to play Sanda. Sanda is a fighting system similar to, let's say, boxing, but with throws and with the competition rules. So this is Sanda. But traditional fight is a little bit different. Traditional fight, in Sanda, you must obey that kind of rules, that kind of blows that are allowed. But in traditional fight, you don't have this kind of rules. So it's free to do whatever you want. In our academy, for example, if we study a fight, we study according to Choy Li Fut techniques. So we can do anything we like. We put the protection gear and we try to do Choy Li Fut in fight. We try to use the Choy Li Fut doing the way he does things in fight. So we can, of course, we can throw, we can grab, we can kick, we can punch, but in Choy Li Fut way. The fighting in traditional systems is more rich than in Sanda. So you can use a lot of strategies different than Sanda. If you put gloves into Sanda, you are cutting most of the fundamental techniques of you can use in Choy Li Fut. For instance, Pak Choi. Pak Choi is a kind of hammer strike. Hammer strike. It's not allowed in the Sanda world. Or if you use it, I don't know if now you can use it, but in old days you cannot use it. But if you use it, you are not up to standards. So in Choy Li Fut and traditional fight, we are not limited to this kind of use of techniques. And the strategy itself is different. Strategy. They are you can use if you use the strategy. There are on set on the forms. You can learn a lot with movements, with movementation around your opponent. Normally in Sanda, what you see is the athletes going back and forth, always. We in Choy Li Fut use around. We use techniques around the opponent, always around, not just going back, going forth. So there are a lot of things that are different because the traditional systems like Choy Li Fut are richer and then not limited to rules. Sanda is limited to rules. That doesn't mean that they are not good. They are very good. If you see fighting on net, you see very, very good top fight masters. But in Choy Li Fut, you can be that good too if we train the traditional system in the proper way. The problem here is that traditional kung fu schools normally what they do is forms and then they go to Sanda directly. They don't apply what they learn in real fight. There, of course, there are schools there, but normally what you see is the people on that traditional school don't apply what the schools had best to fight. They adopt immediately the Sanda to fight. So that's why we don't see very good traditional schools in fight because they go directly to Sanda. You understand? You mean you know what I mean? You understand what I mean?
Mm, no, can you go deeper a little bit? Can you explain? Like,
Well,
so basically what you say that they go strictly to the Sanda. You said,
yeah.
right?
Yes. Look, some traditional systems has a lot of techniques, but applying them in fight is not so easy. So what people do normally in traditional system doesn't matter Hunga, Choiga, I don't know, doesn't matter. Is learning Sanda directly. They go straight to Sanda and the competition rules method. They don't apply directly what they have learned as a system in traditional fight using traditional techniques. You understand what I mean now?
Okay.
So they go straight to the competition rules, to competition system of Sanda. Normally, in my school, what I do, I don't adopt the Sanda system. I adopt the traditional Choy Li Fut techniques to apply directly in street fight or competition or whatever. You know the difference now. So one thing is doing a traditional system and adopting the Sanda rules and Sanda methodology is more easy. Another thing is the traditional system and develop the system as a fighting system. That's what I do, and that's what only some of schools does because this is difficult to apply in street fight or to apply in competition. It's more easy to adapt Sanda rules, Sanda way of doing things. So normally what you see is traditional schools perform sets, forms, weapon sets, solo sets in traditional way, but then they fight in Sanda way. It's easier to do, easier to participate in competitions, in fighting competitions, because the fighting competition is around Sanda rules and Sanda way of fight. But doing that with Choy Li Fut is more difficult because you must apply these techniques to fight doing Choy Li Fut techniques, which is not so easy. It's more demanding. You understand what I mean?
I think so. You're basically saying because it restrict the limitation because they have rules. Is that what you're trying to get, right? Because the the actual fighting art they have no restriction, but Sanda has restriction. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Sanda has restriction in some kind of techniques and has specific rules. But the Choy Li Fut fighting has no rules, of course. It's a traditional system. And you can use whenever techniques that are within style. So you can train these techniques. And for example, in my academy, we don't use gloves, the normal boxing gloves. We use gloves with fingers only. So you can grab, so you can use all kind of movements with free fingers. You understand? So this, in fight, this is an approach to real fight because in real fight you don't use gloves. You use your fingers or your fist or open hand, depends. So that's what we try to do in the when we train in fight and we train the techniques to fight in our lineage, in our academy. So we use these techniques we have learned from traditional training to fight directly. See?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that. That's so awesome. Now, also, of course, I want to promote your book too. Why did you decide to write a book on the essential book of Choy Li Fut, and what message are you trying to convey to the readers?
Okay. When I was young, at my 20s, I looked for books, and it was not easy to find kung fu books at that time on 80s and on 90s. Not easy at all. And the few there are at that time, they were very they are very uh, not they are very bad designer. They are very bad writing, and they are very not good pictures, and the contents are not very good, just very general contents. So in Choy Li Fut, there are no books. Well, of course, there are 3 or 4 books from
Dr. Wong, right? Dr.
yes, for example, the 3 or 4 books famous, but they are not very explicit about the system itself. So the essential book of Choy Li Fut is above all a book that talks about what is Choy Li Fut. So if you don't know what is Choy Li Fut, or you come from another system, doesn't matter if it's Chinese system or Japanese, or I don't want, doesn't matter. You take the book and you will understand what is Choy Li Fut book, what is a Chinese martial arts system. So I describe on the book is parts, different areas, but in general matter. So you can understand what really is Choy Li Fut. In fact, I have gone deeper a little bit, and have put the names of the techniques and Chinese characters I have learned. So I put there because there isn't at that moment um, even one book explained that. So that's why I put that, because people on different lineage of Choy Li Fut write different names. So I choose one specific way to write the transliteration for the Western, which was the Wado guilds from Cantonese, to standardize the terms, the terminology. So right now, there are some books from other masters who appear on now. You can see we have adopted my methodology. So this now becomes a standard. So now, if you call, for example, chap choy technique, you can see how the proper way you write this technique, the proper Chinese character, so you can identify in any lineage chap choy movement. So it's a standard now. So, and I hope different masters who will write on future different books can approach this way to standardize all the system in that manner. So that's the main reason, one of the main reasons I write the book. So in resume, the book is a good initiation to the Choy Li Fut, and people want to know what Choy Li Fut is. So basically, is that could be also a guide to some Choy Li Fut students, because they can memorize the names of techniques, which technique and which name. And I have the first basic set on form explain on just a very basic manner, just people to understand the structure of the Choy Li Fut, or at least the initial structure of Choy Li Fut. So basically, it's like that.
Yes, thank you. You are right though. Some of the old back in the day when I was a kid, it was I try to buy all because I do buy when I was in the kung fu school of Hun Fut. I buy magazine. I love the philosophy when I read it from kung fu masters, but some of the books are really hard to read. Really well, not the they just have pictures, but I want Also, speaking to anyone who are planning to write a book for martial arts, they need to write a little bit longer for philosophy too. That's what I want to. So, thank you. Um, for how do you when you do these stance, whether it's horse stance or how do you guys practice your stance? Like,
Our,
yes,
our
what cat? Yeah, horse stance or cat stance. How do you practice that? Or is there like any form or set to move? Like, do you condition it or do you guys like sit in a like low horse stance?
okay, the approach of the fundamental horse stance, I think, is like on the other system. You start to learn the proper way to do it, that stance, and then you start to movement with different kind of, for example, combinations, etc. But in Choy Li Fut, we have one particularity that I can't see in other styles. We have our first set, calling Numa, sorry, is five wheels horse, of translating. This particular set, is a set for horses, only for horses. So with your hands on your hip, you do a series of displacements and combination of different postures, and you're training the first form only with postures form. So your movement will based only on the lower limbs of your body. You go forward, you go backward, you cross, you do any kind of movement. Later, you take these movements from the form, you can training on the individual basis. So you can combine two or three kind of movements. You train only the horses, only the. So we have this approach of the training of the training of the horses. So it's very specific on Choy Li Fut. Later on, you can add the arms movements. So you start learning all the process in the very best basis. And if you do like this, you can grow up with a good standards and with a good foundations on the system. So the horse are fundamental on Choy Li Fut, and the proper way of doing is fundamental too. You must learn the proper way to doing each of posture, if Seping Ma, Linzi Ma, Wakwe Ma, Yuma, etc. And then combine these postures to get proper movements of the system. So this is a progressive learning you will learn when you learn the system. So basically, this kind of approach we can do.
Yes, thank you. Um, During this interview, I love it when you talk about kung fu and uh, it's so cool. Um, for the, of course, in any kung fu system, they have conditioning, right? With either the fist or the forearm. Can you explain how you guys do the conditioning?
Yeah, the condition in Choy Li Fut, I think, is like you saw in other systems. So there is no proper way of condition the in Choy Li Fut. But is there is specific one is the dummies. So in fact, when you do Choy Li Fut, you do, for example, the three stars exercise. It's an exercise when with an opponent, when he do the same exercise and you start to harden your arms and your legs too. Then there is the dummies where you start to learn your body in general and you prepare your body for the impact. But general matter, the condition in Choy Li Fut is like you see on the other systems. So not so. I don't know what I can say about that, but is a normal condition on.
Well,
like on Chinese martial arts.
yes, well, yes, you're right. They have the 3 star something. Um, can you explain why do we do conditioning? What is the purpose of conditioning our forearm or our fist?
Uh, the way we do the condition, the proper condition. So is basically you start slowly doing with your opponent, and you improve not only the way you do it, but with different methodologies. So, for example, if you start with something, you can then after a few months of practice, it become harder. You can hit harder. When you go to dummies, of course, you start slowly, but then when your arms are ready, when your fists are ready or a palm, you can start hitting harder. So it's always a progressive way of doing this kind of conditioning. So basically, is that. So,
Yes. Beginning of the intro, I forgot what you said. You Choy Lee Fut, Sanda, and what's the third one? Because I can't remember the third one.
Tai Chi Chuan.
Tai Chi Chuan. Also, Tai Chi. How in of course all what was it, Chinese martial arts? They also have Tai Chi. How do you guys do Tai Chi? Do you also use it for health purposes, or do you do it for the martial art aspect?
Okay, I don't do Tai Chi Chuan for health purpose because I have a lot of exercise on my life. I don't need Tai Chi Chuan for a health purpose. I do Tai Chi Chuan because it's a martial arts, and I like the way we training this kind of doing martial arts in Tai Chi Chuan. It's not like Sanda or Choy Li Fut. It's different. If I have to compare, is somehow like judo or aikido or something like that. But of course, we have in the specific school I training is the chain school. Of course, there are hits with the punch, with kicks, and we train these too. But normally, is based on Tuiso. Tuiso is you hear about Tuiso. Tuiso is this kind of exercise we do with touching the opponent and feeling his force, and there is a
Chi Sao.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a kind of Chisao Wing Chun. We
Yes.
call it Tuiso. It's a kind of Tuiso. So this gives you the understanding of the positive and negative forces. You can understand where your opponent are pushing you and the proper ways you can do deflecting this push, etc. So it's a different kind of martial art, but it is very good for you to know the balance of your body, and this could be very useful in fight, very useful. So Tai Chi Chuan, I use it normally as a martial art, but I training too as a mind state because when you perform the sets you, very slowly, you must be very focused. So you must be in alert state. Your mind is in very high state. So it's very good to develop your mind to the fitting of your mind. So that's why I do Tai Chi. This relationship between mind and movement. So mind and movement for me is very important. Not only movement, because if I do movement, I go running or take a bike and go for a ride on a bike. I have to do something more specific. So when you do the movement, the slow movement Tai Chi, you must be aware of your balance, of your body, where to move slowly this hand and that feet and the waist and the shoulder, the proper way to align everything. So you must be in very high alert mind state. That's why I like Tai Chi so much, basically.
Yes.
But I do it for martial art purpose too, not for health. I don't need for health.
Yes, a lot of. I was thinking about yes, they have a lot of good application, right, with
Yeah,
the Tai Chi Chuan or Tai Chi, and because I watch a lot of show with Tai Chi and they're so powerful as they, so but in the Kung Fu world, in the Tai Chi, right, do you also believe in energy, the inner force that's within the human body?
this is a very complicated matter to go in. In general, let me be very frankly about that. I don't believe in energy like the Chinese masters try to transmit to the Western people, and like the Western people interpret this energy state they want. They teach us. Uh, um, I have higher. How can I explain this? I am an engineer, chemical engineer. So my approach to to this energy thing is different from the approach of from normal people who normally doesn't as a scientific formation. So I have a different approach. So in fact, I understand what masters want to transmit. I understand this energy thing is a state of your body. If we go on this direction, it's okay to me. So if you develop your body being um, a whole thing integrated with your surroundings and strengthen your inner force, kind of speak, it's okay to me. But if you're starting to transmit this meaning of energy like manipulation force, so forget I don't go on that direction because this for me is trying to induce in error state the people really like this, and people in the Western side are very open to this kind of things, so metaphysical things. So we must be very practical on the things. So my approach is this kind of this energy thing is a state you develop being a human being. You see, so you have different things being a human being. You have your physical component, you have your spiritual component, your mental component. So this could be this all could be energy thing, but not kind of flow stream of electrons, any kind of. No, I don't believe at all in these things.
Okay.
So basically, it's my understanding. I am sorry not to explain. I could explain in Portuguese because I could explain this better in Portuguese because my English is don't is not that good. You understand?
It's okay. I can understand. Like I understand. So it's no problem.
But
Uh,
maybe on a 2 or 3 years you'll understand because I'm writing a book about this.
yes.
Yes.
You yes. Okay. Also in the Facebook you say you're very good at writing than speaking English. But since you, where did you do you always, is it always you wanted to write a book? Is it always in you that you want to become an author?
No, I didn't want always to write a book, but I found it years ago that I must write a book. Not only a book. I have two books right now published. Yes, two. The second one is in Portuguese and will be translated at the beginning of next year to English. But right now is in Amazon, but only in Portuguese, so people don't know about it so much because in Portuguese we don't. It's not so popular like in English would be. But I felt some years ago that I want to somehow standardize the Choy Li Fut system. So there is so many different lineages, so many different opinions, so many different ways of doing,
Guidance.
yes, and doing things in Choy Li Fut that I found that we must. I must standardize some fundamental things. They must be go on a book, because I just give you an example. So imagine that you are learning from a master a set, a fundamental set. This set should be performed the same by your students, but this doesn't happen in Chinese martial arts. This doesn't happen. Happens in Japanese systems. In Japanese karate, this happens. So in Japanese karate, Einidan, Einshodan, and all these sets that they have, they are equal in Portugal, United States, France, China, Japan. But for instance, Siu Mi Fa is the book I have published now, is different even among the students of a master. So they say, this is the free interpretation, they say any kind of arguments, but I don't agree with that. The difference are in small details. For instance, if you are taller than me, you'll do differently, but according your morphology, not according different techniques, because this technique is good for you, this technique is not good for you. So if you change the techniques, you are changing the system. That's not a standard. Standard does no longer exist. So I felt in need to write a book and follow a standard. The masters have teach us on the past. So I have somehow this needed to write a book, and I will keep doing in the future. So no, of course not all the forms, not all the stuff they have learned, because this is impossible, but at least left some on books, some fundamental standards that everybody should understand and more or less follow, or more or less have a guide to follow. So around that, we can write a story. That's what I'm doing. And I publish different kind of books on next 3, 4, 5 years about this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for the writing the book. I would also want to know, like, back. Can you also tell a little bit history about yourself, or how back in the younger days, or how did you train your kung fu or kung fu?
Well, the older days are not so different than today's today, because I keep training. Of course, not the frequency that I training on the old days, but with at least with the same standards. So when I was young, I training very hard, like any enthusiastic of Chinese martial arts, and who want to achieve a specific standard. For you to achieve a specific standard, not the best, but with a good quality, you must train hard. And in martial arts, in Chinese martial arts, you must train harder than other systems, because there are a lot of matters to training. I mean that if you want to master 5 weapons, you must train hard. If you want to master 3 dummies, you must train harder. And if you want to master 5 fast forms, you must. So at the end of the day, you have too many things to master. So you must train harder. On top of that, if you want to be a fighter, you must to train the fight. So along the day, you must devote your time to different aspects of the training. So when I was young, and today too, that's what I have done always. It's not easy, because there are so many areas on Choy Li Fut you should master to become a proficient master of Choy Li Fut, or proficient student of Choy Li Fut. So this is the main problem of Choy Li Fut people. They don't have time. Today, we don't have time to master all these areas. We must choose. This is exactly what I talk about on my new book. You must be very specific and selective about what you're training if you want to be good at what you do. So today, we don't have time to training. So we have our lives, the times are changing. So you must choose. If you want to be a good fighter, you must train the fights. If you want a good stylist, you must to do only forms, a little bit fights, if you will. But you must choose. If you want to be good at the dummies, you must study the dummies. Unless you have time. If you have time, so you can take 1 hour for dummies, 1 hour for weapons, 1 hour for fighting, 3 hours a day. See, this is very difficult to do today. Not very easy. Only a pro or a person who lives for martial arts can do this. A regular student who have his life, who go to university, who does any kind of things today, only go 2-3 hours a week to the academy. Has no time to master this. No time. That's why you must specifically choose what kind of Choy Li Fut you want to do. You want to do Choy Li Fut for sets, so you must train for sets, maybe a little bit of fight or techniques for fight. You want to be a good fighter, and you must do fight. So a little bit of forms, just to keep fit and to know Choy Li Fut. So it's very difficult. So when I was young, I have come across with this dilemma. So I've chosen what I am to do. Well, I want to be proficient in all. So I choose to training along the day, different areas, day by day, and that's why I'm trying to do today. But today, specific today, I chose one area, is the fighting area. So I dedicate myself to the fight and teach my students how to fight. And because today they're looking for fight. So maybe I teach one form or two of weapons or fists, but no more. One dummy, but no more. They don't have time to practice. So one form or two of weapons or fists, and one form or two of dummies and techniques of fight and fight. That's what I do today.
Yes, thank you so much. That's like that will give so many people ideas how to organize or make it simpler because
Very
our very complex, and I love that idea. You know, I was thinking through it. Which what is your favorite form? I keep thinking about what is your favorite form. What is your favorite form, and what is your favorite animal? What is it, leopard or snake or tiger?
okay. I am very eclectic. So, for example, you talk about animals. Um, in Choy Li Fut, when you do animals, you must I don't know it's the proper term in English, incarnation. You must be that animal. So
Like
become, yeah,
yes.
become. You cannot do the tiger and the snake with some kinds of exercise. So you must understand what the tiger demands from you. So tiger is for example, the tiger is a strong animal, but agile. So you must be strong with tiger techniques, but agile at the same time. The snake is more subtle, is more relaxed. So you must become snake and do the snake on this matter. So if I can choose an animal, maybe the snake or the crane. I like very much because I am a tall guy and skinny, so it's better for me. So I must choose what is better for me. But in fact, in Choy Li Fut, I have a couple of forms that I like, and I have always training. One form is the white brown set. It's a very long set, but has all the what can I say? All the fundamental techniques of Choy Li Fut very dynamically, and I like very much that form. I like to the drunk forms. It's very difficult, it's the way performing, but it's very rewarding,
Uh,
very beautiful and rewarding. So when you do it, you feel comfortable about that. So we perform the 18 different gods, you know which god in each section, and it's very good. But in fact, if I have to do demonstration, a quickly demonstration, or demonstrating myself among other people what is Choy Li Fut. I perform Sumi Fa. Sumi Fa is the very basic form that we can. Sumi Fa is the plum blossom first, small plum blossom first. My new book is out is about Sumi Fa. So this is the standard form, the very beginning form you learn, and the form you can show what real Choy Li Fut is. So this signifier form, the white-brown form, and maybe the drinking form, maybe they are my three favorite forms. So
Okay.
one is basic, another one is the intermediate level, and the other one is advanced level. So with these three forms, I can more or less cover the three levels of Choy Li Fut: beginning, intermediate, and advanced level.
Mm,
More or less. Well, of course, there are other forms I like it, but more or less like this.
yes, thank you. I was thinking about what is your passion in life and what you love to do.
Well, I love to do the Chinese martial arts and Choy Li Fut in particular, and Tai Chi Chuan. So that one thing that I do, I cannot say every day, but almost every day. And then I like photography. Photography is my. I am a commercial photographer. I was to be a commercial photographer. Now I'm retired from that, but I still keep going photography as personal research. This is my artistic way of doing being on life is through the photography. So doing photography and doing Chinese martial arts is my way. So if I'm not doing martial arts, I am doing photography, and vice versa. So my life revolves around photography or Chinese martial arts.
Yes.
It's what I do normally.
What do you like about photography? What is it that make you that bring out like what is that?
Well, it's very difficult to talk about this subject, but in photography, I like to catch the moment, the, that specific moment that it will be very difficult to happen again. So in photography, you are always searching for that moment. You have your camera, you go around, and you are searching always for that. It's very difficult. It's like in Chinese martial arts. It's very difficult to get that moment, and this moment should give you something. I don't know what, but you must be comfortable about the uniqueness about this moment. So what I try to do is capture this moment on my camera and then look always for that moment. So in computer or on paper, printing on paper or just putting on the wall. And I want to look for that moment because that moment transmits me the wonderful of the world you see around us. So we have so many things around us that are wonderful that I needed to capture this kind of uniqueness and the beautifulness that exists around us.
Yes.
Maybe like this, I could be. I don't know in English. I'll be more specific, but I think you understand.
Well, I can relate to you. I really love this is where I can tell the story where I understand you. Where basically when I was a kid, I call it excuse my language. I used to be a camera whore. I love to take pictures, right? I love to capture the moment. Because because we can't we memories is in here, with the neurons with the memory, but somehow if you can capture the
Yeah,
picture that
physically.
yeah physically and you can like see it and then it bring a type of emotion, right?
Yes.
And so back in boarding school, I used because basically the moment that you were there, you can never go back to that moment in
Yes.
time, right? That
Yeah.
I understand. And so, good thing that I did that back in boarding school, I used to go to this trade school, right? either for computers and culinary arts. I often take pictures with my friends. I knew that these valuable time will not last, so I asked people, "Can we take pictures?" I said for memories, and so I capture a lot of pictures that most of my friends and most of my peers never did, and so I put it on my Facebook wall, and most people say, "Oh, I remember that. Oh,
Mm.
wow, I wish I take pictures, right?" So
Yeah.
I understand, and it's very beautiful. I
That's what I do since I was a young kid, because I have cameras from a young age, and I have always done that. Of course, at the beginning, as a very amateur picture, but doesn't matter. They have sentimental value. But later on, I became professional, and I started to working on that area as a professional. But then I felt the need to capture on more artistic way these moments, and today that's what I do. I want to capture to me those moments, those beautiful moments, and keep these outside at the computer or printing or wherever and watch sometimes at these moments.
yeah.
I feel very comfortable about that.
Yes, thank you. And also, but also, when you are passionate about kung fu, is your thoughts always on kung fu, right? Always, it's like you keep constantly thinking about it, right? You like,
Yeah, yeah. If I am when I am thinking about kung fu, if I am always thinking about kung fu, well, it's just Alex told you before. I just do two things: photography and kung fu. If, for example, I am training, I am always thinking about what can I do to improve my training, or what kind of program I will do next week to improve my ability, or what do I need to training because I'm not feeling so comfortable in that area. So, or for instance, if I'm writing a book, how can I improve my book? Not only from my point of view, but from the point of view of the readers. So I am always trying to perfect what I'm doing. Is not I have this kind of perfection in me. Just doing photography, kung fu doesn't matter, and I try always to be better than the day after. But it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job because, for example, when I write a book, uh, and if I am happy about this book, maybe I found 10 people that are not happy, that don't like. So it's very difficult. So we must choose a way. We cannot do things thinking only about what other people like or not like. So, for example, in my training or in the classes I give, I cannot think about what people just like to do or not to do. I must think about what is the proper progression of the system and training that progression and then adapting to my students, but must be a core. This core is fundamental. So the way I write books is the same. This is the need, what I need to do on a book because there is a demanding on the market or because people are looking for that. But I know there are people who won't like or won't agree, but I must do it. So on that direction, I try to improve, and I am always thinking how to improve that. So it doesn't matter if it's a book, if it's a photography, or is the daily training. Doesn't matter. So this is my way of being alive.
yes, thank you. Do the students call you Sifu or Shifu, or how do
I
they call?
well, like, I have a particularly opinion about that. So I don't like my students call me Sifu or Master. I don't. They call me Rolando
How come?
because I don't like the Sifu status. I don't like this kind of status. Uh, I I have told you at the beginning of this interview that I am a learner. So I want to always learn. I am doesn't matter which is photography, kung fu, doesn't matter. I want always learn, always. So if right now I'm learning with this master, I want to learn with that master. So I want to learn and improve myself. So I am in a constant state of learning. So I have no time to be Sifu. You understand? I am a technician. I like to teach what I have learning, and if that transform me in a Sifu, okay, I am a Sifu, but I don't like it because when I see, for example, my Tai Chi Chuan Sifu, who are worldwide top masters like Qin Qiu Wang, Qin Ziqiang from Chenjiago village, they are really a master. They are really, really a master. I am not up to that standard. I would like to be one day, but I am not to that standard. So I don't want. They are the masters. I am the student. Of course, I am the teacher of my students, but I am not the master of my students. I am technician of my students. I teach them the way, how to do properly, how to the best way to they must do it, the best way I am able to teach, but I don't call myself a Sifu. I don't like that title at all. I don't like that title at all. I prefer my students to call me Rolando by my first name. But I understand. I understand that in community I have reached a certain level and people call me Sifu or Master or whatever. I understand and I accept that. But personally, in my private circle, I don't allow people to call me Master. I don't like it.
Yes, thank you so much for that. It's almost like you have a beginner mind, right? Where it's like where it's for example, in Kung Fu they have a sash system, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, where they have the in the Hong Fu system they have the what was it the yellow sash to up to I don't know I haven't gotten up there. But,
Yeah.
the oftentimes I like the idea that we're always like beginner, right?
The white
Uh, like a white belt always, right? Where we always constantly improving. And I like that idea. You think like that, right? With the beginner mind, right?
Yes, I'm always thinking like that. I just told you in a moment,
Yes.
I am eternal learner. We at our academy we don't have belts. We traditionally on Choy Lee Fut we have the beginner level, the intermediate level, and the advanced level. This is the level we have. So if the student has just started or a few years of training, is a beginner always. If he achieves some level and has done part of the curriculum, he passes to the intermediate level, other stuff, other things to learn. So, and this goes on to the advanced levels the same. But normally, my approach is I am always learning. If I empty my mind always to absorb new ideas, new concepts, to understand how people does is better than me, and from which I will learn to get improved myself. So I have always this beginning in mind, always.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. That's beautiful. Because in life I guess because people are forced to learn things that they don't want to learn and they stop learning, so they plateau in life, right? That's all human beings. Um, and I do believe in the philosophy, always keep improving, learning. Do you have any fear, and how did you overcome that fear?
If I have any fear,
Yeah,
well, the most immediate fear that I have is the injuries I can have on my body. So that allows me to train. This is the immediate fear I have. So I always am concerned about if I have my old injuries coming back and it doesn't allow me to training. So this is maybe, if you will, a primary fear, a fear, a primary fear. So this is I am concerned all day about this. So and then we have the fears with all normal being have to have a proper life and maybe we don't have the way to achieve that, and I don't know, all kind of fears we have. So this is a very metaphysical question. So for that, we'll need another interview, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, but I do understand about the fear of entering oneself, right? When
Yeah,
you, 'cause I remember back in the kung fu school days when I was a kid, maybe around, I don't, 15, maybe 16 or 17. I remember because I cleaned the kung fu school, and that's where I get the free class, to learn to go in the class. Kind of like the old traditional kung fu days with the movies we saw, right? So I remember I was outside or inside, I don't remember, but and then I had a kung fu shoe, and then I went outside, and then my ankle slipped
yeah,
in, uh, slid in like an angle, and it hurt really
yeah,
bad. And it's still, I know it's still like habit because I remember it because it
yeah,
hurt. And I remember when I was doing the form, and I couldn't do the form, like the kung fu form, and I was like, "Wow, you suck." I understand. I understand.
yeah.
Um, oh yeah, who do you have any favorite movie of like martial arts or kung fu, like Jet Li or Sammo Hung or Danny?
Well, yeah. Well, right now I don't see martial art movies. I don't like it right now. I don't. Well, I don't see it. But in when I was young, Jackie Chan is what it was my favorite, and still today my favorite actor movie. Then came Jet Li, uh, but I was always like it Jackie Chan. At that time, Bruce Lee was the most famous star of Chinese martial arts and kung fu movie. But I didn't like the style because it was his own style of doing things. It was Jet Kune Do, is found later, but based on Wing Chun, etc. But as not the traditional stuff that Jack Chan has on his movie, the drunk, all these kind of romantic things and complicated things. So my number one movie star was always and still he is Jackie Chan. Still,
Yes,
because I think he's more creative, more fun, and he's more connected to the traditional systems. At least at the beginning of career, because later he changed a little bit and becomes a little bit like Jet Li with all this fighting, but at least has a lot of humor inside. So, but today I don't see a lot of martial arts movies. In fact, I don't see um, action movies, just another kind of movies. Because
yes,
martial arts are just on academy, on my training, and nothing more.
yes. Thank you. Yes, yes. I do like the way Jackie Chan does his movies. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. It's fun and creative, and I
yeah,
think also because he's geared towards the audience for kids, because he know that kids are watching him and will imitate him,
yeah,
right? And
yes,
especially the drunken, the second one. I watched the first one, but I like the second one better. People have their opinions. Uh,
yes. I
but
watched the two too, and that this maybe these films of the Jackie Chan inspire me to do a traditional system and to specialize on a traditional system. So when I have learned the drunken, for example, the drunken form, I remember that time the films of Jackie Chan, and I remember to say, "Oh, I am doing that now." Or so wonderful! I am doing what Jackie Chan did on that movie. So this is as funny because sooner or later, if you want that goal, we achieve that goal if you work hard. So I remember particularly when I was learning the drunken form that now I am like Jackie Chan. I am learning the drunken form. So this is funny,
yeah, yeah.
funny.
Thank you. And also for Jet Li, I like the way when he do like I don't know if you have watched it yet with the Fist of Legend, where he go into the dojo and he fight all the guys.
Yeah.
That's and he become with all the Japanese and yeah.
Yes, Jet Li is a fantastic martial artist. It's a fantastic, very fast, very precise, very clear. I like it very much. Even on his beginners days, when he started to compete in Wushu, and you can see this on YouTube, you can see he has a enormous potential as a fighting artist. I like very much, but maybe because my youth was connected to Jackie Chan, I prefer Jackie Chan. But I know that Jet Li is at the same level, or I don't know, higher, or maybe I don't know. But I like very much Jackie Chan. It's my
Yeah,
preference.
Jackie Chan. Yeah, Jackie Chan is the one that I really love. The way that he does like the yeah, you are right. Actually, you were right. He's very traditional in a way because I remember they have where he had the uh film with the snake, right? That's why I like Snake. Like the snake. And because they have this movie where Jackie Chan had the goats teach him the five animal fists with the dragon, tiger.
Yes.
I mean,
So now I yeah, no.
what does success look like to you?
Well, I don't know because I am not. I don't have this that kind of success. But well, this is you get me surprised with this question. But well, maybe one day, if I feel the success, I can tell you.
No, well, I mean,
Right,
sorry about that. No, it's okay. Maybe I could go a little bit deeper. What most people think?
right.
Because sorry. Uh, hello. Oh no, sorry. So basically, a lot of people
Yes.
think success is like material things, or some people success
Uh,
are success is maybe a family, or maybe
yeah.
something, maybe a kung fu, like something. What is success like? Look like to you in your
Okay.
part?
Okay. On that way, I think if I achieve my goals, which I have not achieved yet, on the, for example, on Chinese martial arts, I have specific goals, and if I achieve them, I think I become successful on that area. If in photography, I could make a work where I can review myself and feel very good about it, I think I have become successful on that area too. So in family, if you grew up and you raise a family, your kids, and they can very stable and they have a proper life and they are this is very successful too. So success could be um, uh, seen in different stage, depends. And maybe if you achieve one stage, you have a kind of success, and you need to feed your soul, you need another kind of success. And then you start to looking for another goals. And then you want to, so success is maybe for me, you achieving that stage where you feel very comfortable about what you are doing. Success is not about money. For me, it's not about money. So I feel more comfortable when then achieve a specific goal on specific area than when I made a $100,000, for example. So because if you are richer and you can, of course, you can go here, there, spend a lot of money, but you always in a circle. But at spiritual level or a mental level or even a physical level, if you reach certain stage, for me at least, I am very grateful, and very happy about that. So this is success. But maybe success is always small steps you give. So today success is not tomorrow success. So it's more a stage. And when you pass this stage and you have been successful, so I need one more stage to fill my needs. And so success is the way you accumulate different stages on your life. And when I don't know when you will be happy, but one day maybe I'll be happy enough and stop there. I don't know, not yet.
Yeah, yes. Thank you. I know that's a little bit shocking, but the reason why I ask is I just want to. I never know what success was when I was a kid. I just want to. That's why I ask so many questions of
Actually,
yourself. And um, I would like to ask, what made you wanted to do an interview with me? Because you say yes.
why not? Why not? Uh, uh, I say yes before seeing your YouTube channel.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Because you show interest on the interview because of my book, and so this shows to me that you saw my book. So if you saw my book, you have somehow interested on this area. So why not? Why
Uh,
not? You are a young man. You are just fighting for what you want. So why not? So
uh,
I'm here with you doing the interview. Why
Thank you so much. You're so awesome. Thank you. Thank you. But you make my dream come true because like I want after this I'm gonna try to find Hungar because it's I mean it's because you know I want Hungar is also one of the like I don't know you probably know Wong Fei Hong like his
yes,
hero. I always love Wong Fei Hong with the also Jet Li and Jet Li played great Once Upon a Time in China.
yes. I saw that too. The movie.
So
Uh,
great.
in fact, before I start Choy Li Fut, I was learning Hongar in Barcelona, in Spain. So I was training for 2 years, I think, Hongar, and I like very much Hongar. Uh, the only thing is Hongar I didn't like so much is because it's more harder than Choy Li Fut. Choy Li Fut is more dynamical and fluid and relaxed. And because I am a thin guy, a tall guy, Choy Li Fut adapts to me more. So that's why I changed from Hongar to Choy Li Fut. But I like very much the Hongar. I found that the Hongar is maybe one of the most traditional system on China.
Yeah.
It's,
That's true because
yeah,
often,
yeah, those kind of movements they have are very traditional, are very traditional. So, for example, Choy Li Fut is the same, but Choy Li Fut has suffered several influences of other systems. But Hongar keeps, of course, at that time has suffered some influence because all Chinese systems does, and I have suffered this from the past. But Hongar is a very specific and very traditional system of Chinese martial arts. So if you want to talk about the specific and old traditions on Chinese martial arts, it is Hongar, of course. Choy Li Fut comes later. And they say Choy Li Fut, part of Choy Li Fut comes from Hong Fut or Hongar. They are not precise on the history. We are not precise, but they come on this part of the Hong family system. So we have a lot of Hongar on the system. But Hongar, for me, maybe the most traditional system in South China.
yes, I can see that because I watch a lot of when I was growing up. That's why my name is Vietnamese name is Phi because I always because I can because Wong Fei Hong was the hero, you know, with the
Yeah.
they used to. I remember I watched. They have a show, DVD, right? Wong Fei Hong, and he had the iron wire fist with the going like this, and with the
Yes, yes, yes.
it. Yes, you're right. It's very
And
traditional.
this is, I like to see that. I don't see myself doing today, but I always like to see. Sometimes on the YouTube, I cross some Mungar guys doing, and I like to see. I like to watch what they do, like very much, and remember the old days when I'm training Mungar too.
Yes, yes, you're right. Thank you so much for today, and I appreciate your time and
Thank
you
you,
being.
mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Where can we find you online, or how? Where? Do you have any social media, or?
Okay, I have my Instagram account, Rolando Martins Gong Fu. But this beginning of September, I publish my own website. Will be my name, Rolando Martins, .pt. So I am just finished my website, maybe this week or next week, and in 15 days, maybe 15 days, they will come up online, and I will have any kind of information there about Choy Li Fut and about Chinese martial arts, but above all about Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, and Choy Li Fut. But I will talk in general about Chinese martial arts. Just finished, so maybe more 15 days, and we will be online. So
Yes.
this will be my main social media. But of course, I have Facebook, I have Instagram, YouTube, etc.
Yes. Thank you so much for that. And I thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.